Welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal podcast. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. Stan Kroenkes will make funds available for Arsenal this coming January should Mikel Arteta and his team decide to reinforce and invest in the market. Now, of course, Mikel Arteta was speaking about the market and he said it's not going to be easy, but we want to look internally on how to replace Saka. Havertz can play there, Jesus can play there. He said Martinelli can play there and Ethan Nwaneri as well. But most importantly, he talked about Arsenal's plans of adding a defender in January. Of course, we have had a lot of injury problems in defense, and that is a reason as to why Mikel has been looking at adding at least one more defender in January. But the key highlight is that we will have the funds should opportunities arise. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. First and foremost, I want to ask you, how much do you think we need to spend in January? Now, I want us to be realistic. It's not going to be 200 million. It is not going to be 100 million. Now, I've seen Manchester City are ready to spend about 200 million in January to help out Pep Guardiola. They're willing to invest in six new players in January. I don't think Arsenal in that state. I don't think we need to, bring in six players. I think we need around 2-3 players in the right places for the right money of the right profile, right? So how much do we need? And how many players do you think we need in January? Yeah, we need someone in attack. Do you think we need someone in defense? Personally, I don't think so. I think defense is alright. If all players come back from their injury crisis, then we shall be absolutely alright. So I think for me, you can do something in midfield. If you could get someone like Adagula, you could do something in midfield, and then you could do something in attack. So I'm thinking around 2 players, but we must have a significant signing. So the Stan Kroenkes are saying that yet again, they will be making funds available to Mikel Arteta and his team in order to help out with the crisis that is going on at Arsenal. And we've been really pushing the button on Mikel Arteta, really. But the truth is that as the manager, there is little he could have done with the injuries. First and foremost, he's working with a very thin squad. Now, is that courtesy? Is that his problem? Or is it the problem of the ownership? Maybe the ownership are saying, we don't want you to have a very big squad. We are not willing to pay a lot of wages to a lot of people like Chelsea, like Manchester City probably. So we want you to have 17 players that you trust. You can give them good wages, but do not have a very big squad. And Mikel was speaking about it. And he said, we started the season with a thin squad. Now, going into January, anything should happen. Anything can happen. If we get opportunities, if we get the chance to sign some new players, we are actually going to do it. Now, for me, these are the key areas, right? And I'm happy that, again, the Kroenkes are being positive because this is like season number 3 or 4 that they have been overly positive. Of course, last summer, we could argue that their positivity did not actually exceed what we expected or meet our expectations for that matter, but still we did a good job. Calafiori came in, Raheem Sterling came in, and we also brought in David Raya on a permanent and Mikel Merino on a permanent as well. So in January, I think what the Kroenkes need to do, they just need to go and get us that major significant signing. A player that can turn Arsenal's season around. Now, those are not easy to get, but I'm hearing the players like Gittens that are available at Borussia Dortmund. Gittens is such a good player. Could we raid Brighton and probably go and get a player like Simeon Adingra out of there? They have Yankuba Minte, they have Kara Mitoma. Maybe Adingra could come in and do a job for us. So could we go and raid them? Could we raid Newcastle and get Alexander Isak? Because I have seen that Newcastle are issuing warnings to all clubs, most especially Arsenal, that Alexander Isak won't be leaving in January. But they're also in fear that Isak could be the subject of a lot of speculation, but also a lot of action in January. So can the Kroenkes do the unthinkable? I mean, the ownership for me, has to do one or two things. One, get the right manager and then provide resources to that manager. And they've done that very, very well. But also, a very good ownership has got to react to situations like this. The situation in which we are is our best player is now injured, and we need to begin to win games, right? We need to begin on a run. So can our ownership go and say, we are going to stand up and spend 78 million on a forward player for Arsenal in January? I would love to see that, because again, January is a tricky market. When the ownership says we're going to avail you with resources and funds, that could be 10 million, that could be 20 million, that could be 13 million. But I think this January transfer window is going to be really and truly defining for a couple of clubs. I'm talking Arsenal, I'm talking Manchester United, I'm talking Man City, I'm talking Spurs. I've seen a couple of lightweight, paper-thin squads that are just trying to stay afloat. Newcastle, Tottenham, Arsenal, Man City, all these squads, they need a reboot. They need a revamp. They need investment. And I think that's where Arsenal come in. Now, the Kroenkes, obviously, you cannot take their word, right? You cannot take their word. Last summer, we were told that Arsenal have around 200 million to spend. We never saw that money. We never saw that money. But why I'm convinced that this time it's real, and why I'm convinced that this time we'll have a bit of money to spend. I'm not saying that they're going to spend hundreds of millions. I'm saying there will be resources they're ready to spend. That could be 40 to 50 million. And why I'm convinced about that is we sold in the summer. Remember? We sold in the summer. Emil Smith-Rowe was sold. Edin Nketiah was sold. Nuno Tavares, Lokonga, all those guys, they were sold. And God willing, if their loan spells go well, then we don't have to revisit those situations. So if that is the case, then you know what that means. That means that Arsenal made some good money in the summer, and now we can go and reinvest in the squad. Now, of course, if you're Mikel Arteta, you should be panicking, because the ownership has given you money, and you've wasted a lot of that money. The problem with Mikel and the danger that he's facing, he has spent a lot of big money on what you would call average players. Jesus is not 50 million. Havertz is not 70 million. I think Mikel Merino, a player approaching his 30s, you don't spend 35 plus million on him. You get the point. But still, he has done some good business as well. So I think it's very, very imperative. It's very, very imperative that the Kroenkes stand up and show their ambition in January. They are ready to spend, but how much and on who? If we ask for Kudus, can they go and do the deal? If we asked for Nico Williams, can they go and help us do the deal? Actually, when I think about the Nico Williams deal, obviously, we've talked about Nico Williams and why, it's not going to be an easy deal for Arsenal. It's 38 million, around 45 million euros, but it's the wages. And I've seen Bayern are there now, PSG are there now, Man City and Manchester United are all interested. But if you're the Kroenkes and you remember what Todiboli did to you in January of 2022, when Mikhailo Modric was being stolen, I think it is high time the Kroenkes did something similar. Like, it is high time our ownership says, damn, let's go and just break the bank on Nico Williams. I think this generation window is going to be about season-defining signings, season-defining moments. And if Arsenal can do a season-defining deal, who knows? I mean, Saka is going to be out for 2 months. He's going to miss about 10 games. 10 bloody games. That is almost the most important part of the campaign. So, can we go and do a season-defining deal. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. We're going to be talking about the injury crisis at Arsenal. Sterling is injured. Raheem Sterling is going to be out for a couple of weeks, and so is Saka, but also Ben White is still injured. Are we going back into another injury crisis? How do we overcome this? Coming up.